I am so excited to be here with you this evening. Wonderful event. To all of the Whitfield County Democrats and all of the planners, everyone on the committee, you have done an awesome job. And I think you all agree. Let's give everyone a hand and work on that. I am just really glad to be here, and I enjoyed every speaker. But Jason and I were sitting there talking, and I think even though you've been so encouraging tonight, I think you won't get upset if we don't do long speeches. I think you'll be okay. Yes. I am serious. We were talking about that. I mean, you said everything, talking about democratic values and ideals and everything. So, you know, this is not the first time this has happened, because when you are towards the end, you know, sometimes people don't leave anything for you to say. But having been in elected office and spent so much time, they didn't say everything, so too bad. I have to say that. I have to share. Thank you. But I'm going to be very brief, and then I'm going to, I'm glad I'm right before Jason, because I want to introduce him and bring him up. But I do want to just tell you just a little bit about my background. I think that would be appropriate. I just met you tonight. I got to talk to a number of people. Is there anyone in here I did not speak to personally? Raise your hand. Excellent. I love that. I love that. Yes, because that's what I want to do. What I normally say to people, because, you know, I came early. I was here pretty early tonight, and our schedule is such that doesn't always happen, and so I don't get to meet everyone. So I want you to know that that's something I've always done. I mean, I did it the 10 years I was in the Senate, because I really like to get out and hear the stories. And like what I said to you, what I think has been so special about running for Lieutenant Governor and traveling all over the state is meeting all of the people of Georgia around the state. And this is what I found, is that we're all just alike. You know, we have families, some of us don't, you know, we have extended families. We all want to be able to work and do things like the work you're doing now, get a job, work in the party or in the community. We have so much in common, and hearing your stories is so inspiring to me. And I want to just share a little bit with you about my story. But as it relates to politics, I served in the Senate for 10 years. My husband is here tonight. He has so many official roles. Tonight, his official role is photographer and videographer. So I thank you for being here with me tonight. But in the time that I served in the Senate, and I only mention that because, you know, when you do something like all of your jobs, if you do something a long time, then you should have a lot of things you could say about it. So I'm not mentioning all of that for that reason. What I just want to share as it relates to what I'm asking you to support me on is Lieutenant Governor. And I think important to that is the fact that I sat in that chamber, that I was a senator for 10 years, sitting there and working with, I served under Peter Howard, I served under Mark Taylor, and just, you know, being in the Senate and working on those issues. And what I tell people as I travel around is that that's the role of the Lieutenant Governor. I get asked about a lot of issues, like what's your platform and all of that. And I think from a values perspective and knowing the person, you need to know that. But the Constitution says that the Lieutenant Governor presides and controls the outcomes that come out of the Senate. And so that's really the role. And that experience, there are two things that I did during that time that I served as Senate that I think is very important to how effective I feel and I believe that I could be in the Senate. And one of those is being floor leader for Governor Roy Barnes. And that experience, being the first woman to do that, really opened me up to issues around the state, not just in DeKalb and Rockdale, which I was elected to represent in the Senate, DeKalb and Rockdale, but the issues around the state, serving on all of the committees that he appointed me to, and working on bills that I think about now. And you may have heard this when people talk about that last year in the state of Georgia, we had 173 movies that was produced in Georgia that came out of work that we were working on back then, wondering how in the world can we had this thing about Creativity City was going to be, state was going to be Georgia. We were going to take the place of California and Hollywood, and we certainly have not done that. But I know you've seen in the news all the different studios are coming here, and what is so exciting about that is the jobs for Georgians. And the fact that it's clean business, it's not environmental concerns. They come, they leave the money, and they go, which is really good for all of us. Now, more and more, you may know that a lot of people are coming here from California. So that was the one thing that was very important. Chairing the health committee was important because had I been there, it would have been another loud voice for expansion of Medicaid. And it's just two things I want to say about that, because I know, Jason's going to come up and he'll fill you in on all the other issues. But do you know that if we had expanded Medicaid, and I was reading this in some research, it's for every dollar that we have that we would normally put into healthcare, it's $3.35 more for the people of Georgia in terms of jobs that, it's so many jobs, and it's just good jobs. It's all kinds of jobs that would support the expansion of Medicaid, not to mention thousands of Georgians would have health care. So, the issues, as someone asked me tonight, when you travel around the state, what are the top issues? What are people talking about? And again, you'll hear more about this, but it's really jobs. People don't go into all the other issues. They usually, that's what they say. That's the top issue. I want opportunities for myself. I want opportunities for my family. So that's what we've been working on. That's what you can expect. I'm very, very excited and looking forward, and I thank the people that invited me to come back after I've been elected, that I will be back to join you. So I thought that was really nice, and I appreciate it. It's one more thing I want to say, and I don't know if you're aware of this, and I'm just pulling things out of all of the things that I would normally say, but there's not one woman serving on the statewide level in the state of Georgia, statewide. So I think that that's something we need to change, and you have plenty of opportunities to do that. And this year is elected Democrat. Now, what we need to do, and I had thought, I said, well, I don't have to talk about any issues tonight because I'll just talk about winning. I will talk about the demographics, the changing demographics. But since Wendy went right before me, so you had already heard something about it, but she also talked about that. So you already know, in order to how hard this is and the work, we've talked about that. I don't think I went to any table that did not tell me, very encouraging, but to tell me we recognize that we have to work very, very, very hard. Just a little bit about growing up in Atlanta. I'm from Sumter County. I lived in Sumter County just for a very, very short period. And people always ask me, because we're from a little town called DeSoto, someone asked me tonight, where is Sumter County? And I have always said this, even before I met Jason, and I certainly did not know former President Jimmy Carter, but I would always say, before Carter was president, people ask me where I'm from Atlanta. If they dig a little deeper, I'll say Sumter County. Nobody knew that I was talking to, but I could always say, well, that's where Plains is. It's in Sumter County. So I was very excited about that. So that's where I was born. But I grew up in the city of Atlanta. I lived with my grandmother. And the reason I lived with my grandmother is because my mom was an alcoholic, and she just did not have the capacity to take care of me. So it was very, very difficult. I started working in a factory at a very, very young age before I was a teenager because everybody had to work. My cousins lived there, my grandmother was a maid, and then she got this job at this factory, and she would take us to work with her. And I always said they didn't have any child labor laws then, but we all were there working, and that's what we did. And the reason I mentioned that to you is because I believe that's where my service come from, is the fact that I have had the opportunities I've had from just really working hard. And I want to fight for the people of Georgia, all the people of Georgia, to be able to have those same kind of opportunities. I think we all think the same thing. If you work hard, you expect to be able to support your family. I think the president did a video on that. If you work hard and you go to work every day, there's just an expectation that I will be able to do that. So that's really what drives all I've done. I'm a real estate broker. I just feel like I could name, which I won't do, I know you'll be happy, I won't name all of the opportunities I have had when it was just by the grace of God that I had those opportunities, and hard work. I mean, really, really hard work in all of my jobs. But when I became a real estate broker, that's when the hard work really paid off, because I felt and you may have jobs like this, if you work all night long and you're in real estate, then of course you'll be able to pay all of your bills and have money left over. So that's what I did. I mean, I would be in my office until 1 o'clock in the morning sometimes, just working really, really hard. And through that experience of meeting so many people, because you really get to know someone if you sell them a home, meeting so many people and just hearing their stories. And from that experience, people encouraged me to run for office. And that's how I was elected to the Senate. And so I'm just really, really, as I said, just so glad that I had that opportunity. And so now I want to transition to something else that I've been doing. I feel like I've been on a tour with Jason, because we've been in so many places wherein we talk all the time. He is just the greatest person. I am so glad I have had the opportunity to get to know him. We did not serve in the Senate together. I had already left and was serving on the county commission at that time. But I got to talk to him, and he's always, even though I didn't live in his district, just always been very responsive and encouraging to me. And so I'm just really excited about the opportunity to be able to work with him, because it doesn't matter what's in his heart. It doesn't matter where he's from, what he's done. He's an author, he's a lawyer, he's a senator. That does not matter as governor if you cannot get your legislation passed through the Senate. So I want to be there so that when he appoints his floor leaders, as Governor Barnes did with me, when they come into the Senate, I can help them to get his agenda out of the Senate. So with that, please help me welcome, give him a standing ovation.